Hello, I'm Arthur. Welcome to my lab. In one of my videos, I talked about the two new meters that I bought. One of them is Victor 86C, and the other one is Mastech MS8268. And finally, the other two meters that I bought recently have arrived. So I have now this HoldPeak HP-90EPC and ANENG AN860B plus. And they are lined up here in their order of cost of price on eBay. So I bought all of these on eBay, but you can also buy them on Banggood. So this is the cheapest one. This one was 21 bucks. This one was about 25. This one 32, I believe, and this one 35 or 40, somewhere in that range. I forgot the prices, but that's about the range of the meters, of the prices. And so all of them are considered really cheap relative to brand name good products. So definitely, if you're on a budget and want to just play around and use these meters for a home lab, they may be an option you might want to consider instead of spending hundreds of dollars on a brand name meter. But keep in mind that you probably shouldn't be messing around with mains electricity, the voltage in your outlet, or anything higher than that, because these meters, even though they say they're rated for thousands of volts, like this one says it's 1000 volt Cat 3, 600 volt Cat 4. This one says 750 volt and 1000 volt and so on. They probably can't really handle that much electricity. And the same goes probably for amp ratings. This one says it's rated up to 20 amps. This one 10 amps, maybe believable. This HoldPeak again 20 amps. I don't know. That might be risky. Although I did take some of these meters up to around 5-7 amps or so, and they didn't smoke, so that's a good sign. So yeah, within reason, you can use them in home lab. Would I stick my probes into an electric outlet with one of those hooked up? I'd think about it. I'd hesitate. Maybe, but probably best to avoid having to do that. But anyway, let's take a look at all these meters and see how they compare. So I'm going to hook them up to my voltage reference and see what they measure. And I'm not really looking for a precise measurement this time. I just want to see how close to each other they are, how much off they might be. So I'm going to test voltage measurement, the current measurement, and all the other things that these meters can measure. So let's go from this cheapest one, DC voltage, and my voltage reference is set to 10 volt range, which actually supposedly it's supposed to measure 9.993 volts. And one nice thing about this meter, even though it's the cheapest one of them all, this is actually a 6000 count meter compared to the other meters being 4000 count. So this gives you a little bit more of a range before it hops over to the next range setting. So you can measure things up to 6 volts or 6 kilo ohms resistors or capacitors, same thing. So that's the nice thing about this meter. Even though it's the cheapest of them all, it has this nice extended range. So let's take a look. This is supposed to be 9.99 volts. So yeah, close enough. Now how about Mastech? So ANENG was 9.98. Mastech 9.99, which is what I'm looking for. HoldPeak measures 9.98, and Victor measures 9.97. So actually the most expensive meter is off by the most, but they are all very close and within their margin of error. They vary a little bit between these 4 meters as far as the margin of error, but I believe it's somewhere from 1.5% for the most precise meter up to 3% for the least precise. But you know, this 10 millivolts or 20 millivolts off on a 10 volt measurement, I think that's fairly close. That's close enough. All right, so let's take a look at the current measurement, and to do that I'm going to use my power supply and a resistor. Let's use 1.5 mega ohm resistor, and I have my power supply set to 10 volts, and let's see what current measurements we'll get. We're looking at microamp levels of current here, so let's switch all of these meters to microamps, and I'll plug in my power supply, connect resistor to the positive of my power supply, and let's see, microamps. 6.6 microamps on ANENG. Mastech 6.6. On HoldPeak HP-90EPC, and 6.6 on Victor 86C. So exact same reading on microamp range. That's nice. Nice to know that they all agree on that. Now let's try 1.5 kilo ohm. And let me just do a quick math just to make sure I'm still on a good range here. So we should be looking at 6.6 milliamps. So let's switch over. Actually, this meter should be able to measure this on a microamp range, because that's still within its count. But let's switch all the meters to the same range. All right, milliamps. And Victor 86C, 6.62. Actually, let's see, was I over? Yeah, I was over limit on this poor guy. All right, 6.62 milliamps. .5351, so yeah, a little bit off on HoldPeak. Mastech 6.61, and ANENG 6.62. So except for HoldPeak, the other 3 meters are looking good. Okay, so that's a little bit too much for ANENG here. And now actually let's try a little bit higher current. What I'm going to do is use my power supply's current limiting feature. So I'm going to plug in straight into my power supply. And let's limit it to something interesting. I have to check what's my maximum range here. This one actually doesn't say, and I don't remember, but it's probably 400 milliamps. This is 400 milliamps, and so is this one. So I'm guessing I shouldn't probably go above 400 milliamps. Let's set it to, well, 300 is close. So let's use this one as reference. Get our current to 300 milliamps. We're close to it. Yeah, close enough. So ANENG 300.4. Mastech 301.4, so 1 milliamp off, not bad. HoldPeak 300.9, so almost 1 milliamp off, relative to ANENG, which may be off by itself. So actually one of these meters may be the right reading. And why am I not getting reading on this meter? Hopefully I haven't blown the fuse. 297 on the amp range, but I really should be getting a reading here on the milliamp range, but I'm not. So I'm guessing maybe my 400 milliamp range fuse is blown, which will make for a interesting video of take apart of this meter to replace the fuse. Yeah, that's a bummer. Alright, so that's for the milliamp range. Now let's take a look at the ohm measurement. So going back to my 1.5 meg ohm resistor, let's switch to ohm range. All right, 1.5 meg. And also what's worth noticing is how long it takes these meters to display the final reading. So this was fairly quick, 1.5 meg. See, the delay for Mastech was, I think, noticeably longer. 1.5.5. HoldPeak. That was also longer than ANENG. And finally Victor. I think actually ANENG is the winner here. It took it the least amount of time to display the final measurement. But all of them are in about the same range of measurement. Very close measurement. Now let's take a look at 1.5K. One and a half and 3. That's taking a while. That is slow, and it looks like this guy can't even make up its mind. And I don't think it's my probes. Alright, that's taking its sweet time. But one thing that I noticed about this meter, the HoldPeak, is that the connectors inside of the meter are very deep. So actually this set of plugs may be barely reaching the connectors inside of the meter. So that's something to keep in mind. This meter of course comes with its own set of probes, but if you need to use a different set of probes, your plug may be not long enough to reach all the way inside. So I'm going to hold this down, and no, just not making a good contact. That's not too good. Alright, I guess that's a fail. Mastech, taking its sweet time, 1.5. And ANENG, again, I think it's one of the faster ones in good measurement. Alright, and finally 18 ohms. Alright, 18.0. That takes a while. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be measuring resistors using this meter. Of course, you can put these meters in manual range, and then they should be quicker. Okay, so strangely, this time HoldPeak decided to display the value. It's off the most of the meters so far. Let's see how close Victor will be, but at least it displayed the value this time, so I'm not sure what happened with the previous measurement. Alright, 18.1. So I think this is a fail for HoldPeak here. Now let's take a look at capacitors. So I'm switching all these to capacitance metering, and let's try with my lowest value, which is 100 picofarads. Let's see if these guys can measure that. So right now I'm using my Victor, and nope, no signs of life. 100 pico is not something that this meter can measure. How about HoldPeak? Well, at least it's trying. It's showing 370 pico. That's certainly not what I have here, but at least it tried. Mastech, 126 pico. All right, that's promising. At least it's kind of close. And ANENG, 118. So that's the most successful measurement, and yeah, that's a fairly low value. So some of these meters may have trouble, but certainly that's not a rare or unheard of measurement when dealing with electronics. Let's take a look at the next capacitor. That should be 782 nanofarad is what I measured on my LCR meter. So let's see, 756. $719. That's kind of low. That's off. That's way off. That's almost twice the actual value of the capacitor. So I don't think I'll be using HoldPeak to measure capacitors. And Victor, again, the most expensive meter. I would hope that it would have, first of all, better range, because it's only showing the hundreds and tens of picofarad range, where other meters were showing the last digit as well. But at least it's kind of in the ballpark, but not really. showing 70 versus Mastech showing 721. So here we have the full range, all the digits. So a little bit disappointing for that most expensive meter. Now let's take a look at what I measured as 93 nanofarad, which is probably nominally, let me see, that's probably supposed to be 100 nanofarad. So sorry, I'm jumping in the values here, but okay. Oh no, actually we went to the next range, sorry. So yeah, nominally this capacitor is supposed to be 100 nanofarads, and Mastech is measuring 80. ANENG about the same. HoldPeak yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's anywhere close. Maybe, again, having trouble with yeah, having trouble with making contact. Now that I jiggled the connectors around a little bit, yeah, it's close to 80, so like the other 2 meters. But yeah, that connection issue may be a problem when you need to measure things and don't have time to fiddle with connectors. And 80 on Victor 86C. So all 4 of them, the same reading. And if I can trust my LCR meter, they all are off by about 13 nanofarad. All right, now 1 microfarad capacitor. That was quick. Let's unplug. I don't have a good way of discharging this capacitor, which would be ideal to discharge it. But let's see, 1, 2, yeah, 1 second, and we have a reading. So that's not bad. 995 nanofarad. So close to the measurement that I'm expecting. HoldPeak. Yeah, close enough. This time at least it measured. It made a contact. Mastech, about the same time to measure and close in the same ballpark as the other meters. And ANENG, again, good reading. Now 25 microfarad. That's taking a little bit. All right, let's see. One 100, 2 100, 3 100, 4 100. So about 4 seconds to make a measurement. And as we go in capacitance values, as we go up in these values, the meters will start slowing down. It's just a matter whether they slow down to something that's still acceptable or something that is way too long. So let's see. Mastech. 1 100, 2 100, 3 100, 4 100, 5 100, 6 100. So about 6 seconds for Mastech to measure. That's kind of on the slower side. HoldPeak. 1 100, 2 100, 3 100, 4 100, 5 100. About 5 seconds. And of course, those who really need exact timing can, I don't know, pause the video and count frames. Up to you guys. For me, that's close enough. I'm not going to use a stopwatch to measure this. And Victor. 1 100, 2 100, 3 100. 3 seconds. So ANENG and Victor are the winners so far as the speed of measurement. And the other 2 are lagging behind. And for the highest capacitance, let's grab 470 microfarad. So certainly this will be the biggest challenge for these meters. 470 is a fairly high value. So let's see how long it takes them. Actually, I'll unplug this and use the same method to measure time. So 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 8, 9. Oh, actually, I guess it displayed the measurement at around 8. So about 8 seconds. I was thrown off by the lack of decimal point. I thought it was still measuring, still getting up in range. So HoldPeak 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, and okay, it gave up. I guess HoldPeak cannot measure 400 microfarad or 470 microfarad. All right, you guys start counting on your own, because I'm kind of tired of this 1/100 thing. That's nowhere near what I'm looking for. Is it really taking that long, or is it just not even going to give me the correct measurement? Well, either way, I wouldn't want to wait that long, so that's a fail, definite fail for Mastech. And ANENG, about 6 seconds to display a value. And yeah, 460 versus Victor. Again, $485. I don't know which meter is closer. Of course, this capacitor being rated at 470 microfarad, these electrolytic capacitors usually can be up to 20% off. So I'm not even sure what brand this is and how much I can trust the nominal value on this guy. So either one of these two meters could be right, probably. Now let's take a look at diode measurement. So switching to diode range, and I'm just going to use a regular diode. Alright, and this one, okay, they're all in diode modes. Victor, alright, I'm just measuring. This is probably 1N4001 diode. No, it's actually 1N4006. So anyway, diode measurement. Yeah, not too exciting. Basically, they make a measurement. Now for the more exciting part of diode measurement, let's take a look at an LED. Alright, ANENG, and I'm using a green LED, so it's supposed to light up when I make a measurement. Yeah. Alright, so it lights up, and ANENG is showing 1.823 voltage drop. Mastech nothing. The LED did not lit up. Mastech is showing over limit. Yep. So I actually read in the manual that it's using some insanely low voltage. I want to say like 1.2 volt for the diode. So really the only thing that this thing is capable of measuring is actual diodes. It will not measure your LEDs. So if you need to test your LEDs, don't use this guy. HoldPeak, same deal, nothing. So no good for measuring diodes. I can't believe that anyone would manufacture a meter which cannot measure a green LED. I believe white LEDs have the highest voltage, so that should be a biggest challenge. But green LED is so popular, any meter worth any price should be able to measure that. So if I need to measure LEDs, I'll choose Victor or ANENG, either the most expensive or the cheapest meter, but not the two mid-range meters. So that's an LED. Now everybody's favorite, the continuity test. Let's switch to continuity mode. And that's one annoying thing about having multiple different meters, different brands, is that you really have to look at where the buttons are and where the correct selections are on the switches. Life would be much easier if I just went with one type of the meter, but since I don't know how all these meters will perform, I couldn't know which to choose. So I went with 4 different ones, and then if I ever need another one, I'll just buy one of these, but I'll at least know what to expect. So I'm using actually a set of probes from Radio Shack. These are the newer probes that I bought recently. So these have the shroud that all new probes use these days, or have on them. These are not my old probes for my old meter, which don't have any shrouds. So anyway, these are not the probes that came with any one of these meters. These are Radio Shack probes. Very nice. Latched input, doesn't do that scratchy thing. Nice tone, fast response. And actually, let me grab a set of probes from one of the other meters, or set of probes that came with one of these meters. This is Mastech, and let's see how that compares to Radio Shack probes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but not bad. See, I just did a few tries, and it didn't work. But it'll be even more pronounced with some of these other meters. So actually, let's use these Mastech probes again with Mastech meter. Horrible. This scratchy, chirpy, unlatched sound. Now let's try Radio Shack probes. At least a little bit more reliable as far as making contact, making sound, but still far from ideal. And the input is probably not latched. At least one good thing about it is that it also responds fairly quickly. So not totally horrible, but wouldn't be my choice to measure continuity. Actually, ANENG so far is the winner in this category. Now HoldPeak. Even worse than Mastech. Just totally horrible scratchy sound. And even if I push the probes hard one against the other, you hear that scratchy thing. Really annoying. And then Victor, I'm pushing these probes one against the other fairly hard, and not a peep from this meter. And that was because it's just slow to respond. So I have to slow down to this speed to give this meter enough time to respond. This, no way, not happening. So the most expensive meter, I probably wouldn't use it for any kind of continuity measurement, just because I'm not willing to spend that much time. And if you need to scan across the pins of a chip to find whether you have a short or whatever, no way will I use a meter like this for that. I will definitely use this ANENG with its nice latched input and fast response. This will be the meter that I will use to measure continuity or test continuity. Alright, some of these meters have beta measurement, but that's just useless. Nobody needs that. So I'm not even going to bother doing that. What else do we have here? Centigrade temperature measurement. So let's go to temperature. Let me grab my probe. If I can find it. Alright. So here's actually the probe that came with HoldPeak, and that's one of the reasons, that's one thing that sold me on this meter, buying this meter, is that unlike all the other meters that came with just your usual wire with a little glass ball at the end, that's your temperature sensor, this one actually has a nice this metal stick kind of probe. So I have two of the glass ball temperature sensors, and I have this for when I need to, for when this is a better choice to make a temperature measurement. So that's why I bought this HoldPeak, to get this probe. So let's see, one annoying thing is that these meters have different way of plugging in the probe. Like for this ANENG, you plug in your black into the common and your red into the volt, and you get the measurement. So 24 degrees Celsius, 74 Fahrenheit, which is kind of, no, I don't think I have 74 degrees here. It's closer to, well, 73, 72. Although with all the gear going, yeah, maybe 74 actually. But anyway, so when you unplug the probe, the meter actually displays some value, and I'm hoping that this is the ambient temperature or the temperature of this meter, which would be nice to be able to just put the meter somewhere without even a probe and measure the temperature, know what the temperature is. So that's for ANENG. Unfortunately, Mastech does not have temperature measurement. I don't know why. All other meters do have the temperature measurement. Mastech does not. Now HoldPeak does have temperature measurement, but only in centigrade. So I can only measure Celsius temperature. And this guy, instead of using common and volt range, HoldPeak uses common and milliamp. All right. So 19 degrees versus, and I don't know whether this really makes that big of a difference which way you plug it in. So 19 versus 20, close enough. And Victor, For Victor, the negative probe goes into the milliamp and the positive probe goes into volt. So again, different order of plugging it in. 23 degrees. So that's a little on high side compared to these other 2 meters. And this one does measure in Fahrenheit as well. And in Fahrenheit it's showing 74 degrees, which is what ANENG showed. So I'm not sure why Victor and ANENG agree on the temperature in Fahrenheit, but if I switch to the centigrade, they differed. Now they're showing the same temperature. Let's see, just ambient temperature. Yeah, they're showing the same. What happened here? See, 20 degrees with a probe plugged in, but 23 degrees on Victor with probe plugged in, up to 24. So I'm not sure why the difference. And on HoldPeak, which this probe came with HoldPeak, so it should be calibrated to this probe, 20 degrees, same as ANENG. So maybe Victor is just calibrated to a different probe, and I have to use the probe that came with it. I'm not going to go searching for it right now. I thought that I had it handy, but apparently not. So that's the centigrade range, or the temperature measurement. And this pretty much covers, well, actually no, let's do the frequency measurement. Frequency and alright, so ANENG, switch to frequency mode, hook up my signal generator, and I guess I have to switch the ranges. No, millivolt, DC, AC. I am on the hertz. Oh, so you have to push this hertz button, I guess. No. And I'm at I'm looking for 15 kilohertz in sine wave. Is what I should be getting here. For some reason it's not switching to the frequency mode. Oh, maybe it needs AC. Oh yeah, okay, so you have to select AC and then you can push hertz to measure the frequency, which is silly. You know, it should be that you just push the hertz button and it automatically switches to AC if that's what it needs. So not enough smarts in this meter, but the reading is fine, 15 kilohertz or close to it. Mastech, fortunately, at least has this measurement, and you don't have to fiddle with the buttons on Mastech. You just set it to hertz mode, and yeah, same reading. HoldPeak, it is in frequency mode and nothing happening. Oh, maybe again the probe issue. Let me try this other set of probes, see if that's any better. So yeah, it's trying to measure, but yikes, not really happening here. Yeah, no, that's unreliable. Okay, Victor, boom, 15 kilohertz, which is what I'm expecting. And let's try a different frequency. Let's increase the frequency a little bit. Let's go to 100 kilohertz, or actually let's go to 1 megahertz. All right, Victor, looks good. Let's actually start from 0. That took a while to reset to 0. All right, but the measurement was quick. Let's give HoldPeak another chance, although no, that won't be my meter for frequency measurements, and this time it was instant. So I don't know what happened there, but that's just doesn't really build up much trust in that meter. HoldPeak. Nothing. Hello? Not happening. Not sure why. And ANENG, again, trusty, quick, worked just fine. All right, let's go to 10 megahertz. Unplug. And I guess it's picking up the outlet voltage. I don't know how and why. It must be real sensitive, but it's showing 60 hertz, which is the frequency that I have in power outlets here, in wall outlets. All right, again, looks like 10 megahertz may be outside of what it's capable of. One more try for Mastech. Nothing. Not too good. Yeah, HoldPeak is just being silly, showing 13 kilohertz. And Victor, boom, 10 megahertz. That was quick. Now let's go to 15. And instant response. I'm not even going to bother with HoldPeak and Mastech, and one more chance for ANENG, although it had trouble making previous measurements. So yeah. So Victor is the winner in frequency measurement. Let's see if it can go up to 20. Yeah, no problem there. And 25 megahertz is the maximum that my signal generator can produce, and Victor has no problem whatsoever making that measurement. So that's a win for Victor. Let's see what frequency this ANENG tops out on. It couldn't handle 10 megahertz, so let's go from 10 megahertz down slowly. Okay, it's picking up 7 megahertz. So that's about the maximum that it can measure. And I should probably read the manual, and it probably says, actually I did browse through the manual, and I think it did mention that that was the maximum that it could measure. So alright, now let's do the duty cycle, which was the word I was looking for, and I just blanked out on that one. Let's give these meters something more reasonable, like 1 megahertz. Yeah, that should be a fair comparison. And switch to square wave and select duty cycle of, let's say, 10%. All right, ANENG showing 9%. That's close. Not ideal, but close. Again, Mastech, not even measuring the frequency, so I'm not gonna bother. HoldPeak, trying to measure frequency now, but yeah, for a moment it measured it and then gave up. It must be the poor contact. So that's a problem if you cannot trust the contacts on your meter and cannot measure the duty cycle. And Victor, no problem whatsoever, 10.9 or 11. So that looks good. Let's go to 95. %95 duty cycle. Victor is reading 94 or close to it. And ANENG, ANENG is not reading. Unfortunately, it cannot handle 95% duty cycle. How about 90? Yeah, that it can do, but it's off. So I think Victor here is the winner in the frequency measurement. ANENG is the winner in many measurements, especially the conductivity. So these two would be actually my winners, the cheapest and the most expensive one, and these two not so much. So that's the measurements. I think I've covered all of the ranges, and this video is getting really long, but hopefully at least those who are interested in maybe considering buying a new meter will find this interesting, and you guys can scroll around in the video to find the bits that interest you. Some other things that I would mention about these meters is it's kind of annoying how beepy this meter is. It's like you switch the ranges, you hear the switch click, but it also beeps. Why? Don't really need that. Also, this meter, I don't think it has auto power off, even though it says it does, but I think it stays on and it will start beeping at you after a while, but I don't think I've seen it turn off. And another thing worth mentioning is the backlight. So if I turn on the backlight by holding down the button, do you guys see any difference? No, the backlight is pathetic. And actually, let me turn off the light. Now you can see a little bit of shade of light here. Yeah, now it just went off. So that's the backlight you get. That's ridiculous. So maybe there's a problem with placement of the LED that lights up the display. So these would be my complaints about this meter. And there's some other features that I can get into, some more details, but this video is getting really long, so I'll skip that. Backlight on this meter, you should be able to see that clearly, that it turned on. Nice. Backlight on this. Oh, there's auto backlight actually. This is the light sensor, and that's what turns on the meter, which I thought was a nice feature until I started moving my hands around by this meter's proximity, and right now it's not doing it because there's enough light, but at some point it became annoying because depending on the position of the meter and in a little bit dimmer light, the meter just kept turning on and off the backlight, and it was just annoying. I wish I could just turn it on and leave it on and if I need to. And Victor, nice bright backlight. So I like the backlight on this one and this one. These two not so much. Nice thing about Victor is nice large display, and in some ranges at least it has the bar graph so it has the analog readout. That's the only meter that has the analog readout. The other three don't. But ANENG, again, has second largest display, nice and readable. I think out of the four, I like the HoldPeak display the least. It's just smaller, less readable, less contrast. Not my favorite. HoldPeak has a battery measurement, battery test range. That's the only meter that has this out of the four. So if that's something that you need, if you need to test batteries, then that might be something worth considering. And only HoldPeak and Victor have a PC interface. To me, the way they did this in HoldPeak is kind of weird. They have this like thing sticking out, which actually it's attached to the meter. There's a cover that goes on top of that, and you have to unscrew the screws, and then this exposes this USB connector, which is just weird. Why couldn't they like build this into the meter? You know, why is it sticking out if it's permanently attached to the meter? So that looks like an afterthought to me. But anyway, this is a USB, and I'm hoping that inside of the meter there's a LED to LED connection that separates this interface from the actual meter. That's what it should be. And for Victor, it also has a USB socket, but at least the newer, smaller style, not this big one that HoldPeak has. So it also has PC software, and you can collect your data on the PC. But the software, the original software for these meters is really lacking. And actually, Victor came with a CD with the software, but it was all in Chinese. So I had to Google for the English version of this software to even be able to use the PC software for this meter. That's Victor letting me know that it's about to time out. So yeah, if you buy this meter, be aware that it will most likely come with Chinese software, and you'll have to download the English version from the internet. HoldPeak came with English language version, but there's actually a third-party software that supports, I believe, at least Victor. I'm not sure about HoldPeak. So there's hope that you could maybe find a more fully featured, a better software for these meters that is a third-party software, because the original software that these meters come is very lacking, very primitive. Basically, the manufacturer, I guess, just wrote the simplest possible piece of software that they could release with the meter, just to claim that, yeah, these meters can be hooked up to a computer and used with a computer. Yeah, you can do that, but it's really cumbersome to do that with the original software. Okay, and my Mastech already timed out, which I guess is a good reminder to wrap up this video because it's really long. And so that's all for this time. And I'll be doing individual reviews or take-aparts of these meters, so we can see what's inside of them and see how they compare. So talk to you later. Bye.